Good afternoon, everybody. Joe Pal Martin Miller here. I hope you're going well. You would not believe this, but after 4 years of not submitting a tax return in Australia, I just realized that I don't have to do any tax returns because I am not a resident of Australia for tax purposes. Now, this all goes back to the time I left Australia in November 2016. I left Australia with no plans whatsoever to come back. I thought maybe if I don't work out well, the third time around I would come back to Australia, but I haven't been back here for 7.5 years. So the 2016-2017 financial year, I basically just filed a tax return just to declare my income that I earned at this crappy job in Melbourne. So that was going to be it. And then I didn't do a tax return for 2 years, and then they sent a letter to my father basically saying, oh, it's time to do your tax return. So I last did a tax return for the 2018-2019 year. I just basically figured out what my income is from pound sterling to Australian dollars, and basically declare that as foreign income. So put that down, and they basically say, well, you don't have to pay any taxes because foreign income isn't taxed. But as an Australian citizen who lives abroad, I'm still obliged to do this tax return. So I've done nothing for like the last couple of years. I've just lived in the United Kingdom, worked, still kept my Australian passport, paid no taxes to Australia, earns nothing in Australia, and it's pretty much been the life. But then I saw a story about Ace Frehley, about how he might not be able to get a passport because, well, the IRS is pretty much after him in back taxes. Now, Australia isn't like the United States. They don't tax you wherever you are. But it all depends on like what you do in life. So let's just say if I was to inherit one of my parents' properties and I was going to rent it out, no matter where I live in the world, I still have to file a tax return every year to say, I earn this much money in Australia through rent. Okay? It's a simple way of life because it's still considered any income. But for the last 3 years, I've received no threatening letters, no scam phone calls from Indian scammers in India pretending to be the ATO, and nobody has pestered me to basically do a tax return for 3 years. It's all because the whole MyGov login system, like I downloaded the app many years ago on this phone, then I uninstalled it, and then I tried to download a new app and put in a new password and sign up for a new account, and they say, oh, we've already verified your passport and your Australian ID, you're going to have to do it again. So I called up the ATO, trying to get into the whole my tax, e-tax thing, and I was on hold for half an hour in the morning, ringing them up, trying to verify who I am, trying to verify that I have paid tax in Australia. So they were able to give me this code which gave me access to do my tax returns. But the person on the other phone, I said, look, I've been away from the country for 7.5 years. Am I still in? Do I still have to do this thing? And he just couldn't give me a simple answer. So I called up a friend of mine who is in the same situation that I'm in. An Australian friend of mine who's been in Canada for over 10 years. I said to my friend Steve, do you have to do tax returns every year to Australia even though you're in Canada? And he said to me, no, I wrote to the ATO many years ago to tell them that I'm no longer an Australian resident. So I did one tax return for 2020-2021, just to basically say, this is how much I earned in London. Then all of a sudden, I did this calculator to figure out if I have to do a tax return or not. It turns out I don't. Because, 1, I don't live in Australia, 2, I don't earn money in Australia, and 3, I am a non-Australian resident, but I'm still an Australian, a taxpayer. I'm still considered that, but whatever I do in London, the Australian government can't touch, and so therefore I don't have to worry about every year around July, August. Oh, do I have to do my Australian tax return? Oh, how much money should I try to convert from pound sterling to Aussie dollars to figure out what I've actually earned in AUD. It's just like, to be frank, I don't want to be too personal at all, but when I convert my pound sterling income from the year to Aussie dollars, it's like 50 Australian grand. And the Australian tax-free threshold used to be a touch under 18,000. So if you earned like more than 18,000, you'd have to stop paying taxes. But this is foreign income, they can't tax me. Yeah. But another situation that I was in was I got fined in 2017 because I didn't vote in an election in Parramatta. Okay, I was on the electoral roll in Parramatta, I lived in this house in Winston Hills, and then I went abroad. I basically, went through passport control. That was just it. Left Australia. And then all of a sudden, they sent a fine to my last address. And then a year later, debt collectors were knocking on this house trying to find me. So I had to get my old housemate to give me some paperwork, to go online and tell them that 1, I was not in Australia, and 2, I did not have to vote because I was not physically in Australia. Because in 2016, at that federal election, I was not in the country. I was actually in Canberra on the day of the Australian election, and I had a passport stamped. But nobody sent me a fine because I wasn't in the country. That's if you don't want to vote in Australia, but you don't want to get a fine, just take a holiday abroad for a few weeks, and I'm pretty sure you won't get a fine because you get to say, look, I was abroad, I couldn't vote, but voting is still compulsory. So yeah, I'm still an Australian who doesn't pay taxes in Australia, but I don't contribute much to Australia because I haven't been there for 7 years. I have to renew my Australian passport next year because it expires, but it has the peak that I can now go to China visa-free for 15 days, and also I can even also go to Pakistan visa-free for 15 days. So many different countries will start opening up to us Australian passport holders. But sadly, when I go to Senegal in a few weeks, I have to use a British passport because it's visa-free for British, but then Australians have to pay money. It works out that way. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead, over and out.